the early days of Metal League. But Bjork is renowned for unusual combinations of instruments, string quartets and sort of almost heavy metal sounds, and she gets musicians to design new instruments for stage shows. She's usually reactable digital technology on the stage where you put icons on a lit podium to create sound, all sorts of weird and wonderful things that all seem to work, but very different ways of working. When you worked with her, were those signs already there that she was a different?
Not really, because I should qualify this by saying this is even pre Sugar Cubes. She had a band called Kukla, who there were just 3 of them, and the one thing that really struck me about was how shy she is. Very, very shy, and but almost like this explosion when she sings, and then she kind of goes back into this very, I mean, I'm sure she's not like this now. This was a long time ago that I worked with her, over 20 years, so I never cease to be amazed at how progressive she is as an artist, though, and I think one of the things which always excites me about different artists is that those that continue to reinvent themselves, and I think she certainly fits into that category. A lot of the musicians and artists that I like are people that continue to do that, if you like, rip up the rule book and say, well, I'm going to do this completely, I've done it that way, and I'm going to do it a different way.
Is it that she guides it, or do other people come along that she meets and think that she thinks I can go in another direction? What moves artists in a particular way? And the classic example, I suppose, is Brian Eno, who seems to guide people in a very strange way when he goes into his production duties, taking people into a different mindset.
Yeah, I think it's all about taking an artist out of their comfort zone. The worst thing for me is if you continually do what's comfortable, and you often have to. I think the Eno philosophy, I don't know if any of you know about oblique strategies, which is this set of cards which actually it was when he was ill in the 70s, he sat in lay in his bed, and he came up with all of these different strategies where, I don't know, it could be anything from take the most important thing in your track, or what you consider to be the most important thing, and mute it, or turn it down, and the thing which is least important, make it the loudest. It could be something as general as go and make a cup of tea, or go and, I don't know, mow the lawn or something, but in Eno's typically eccentric way. I think what he's trying to do is stop people from working in their kind of conventional way. And actually, there's a great little story here, if you don't mind me telling this. I used to have a room at Olympic Studios, and the last album we did there was U2's last album, No Line on the Horizon. And my room had a knock before you enter, and Brian changed it to rock before you enter because he couldn't stand the fact that U2 were a rock band. And his sole purpose with U2 is to stop them being a rock band and make them something else, even though obviously they fight that. And I think the idea of the resistance between Eno and what U2 stand for, which is 4 guys in a room, a rock band, I think that resistance is sometimes good. If you look at an album maybe like Acton Baby, which is the early 90s, I think there's a lot of that resistance there with the kind of more conventional Lanoir approach to production to the more, shall we say, out there approach from Eno. So, hopefully some of that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Hassan, I'd like to bring you in here. Your drums studio has got state-of-the-art recording equipment, and yet some of the instruments you play are many centuries old. How do you think you get the best out of combining ancient and modern, really ancient and really modern? How do you approach it?
It's quite a specific approach, which I've learned from Peter Gabriel himself, and that is he uses the technology to serve the naturalness of any production that he does. It is so easy these days, and has been, since eternity, to be able to press a button and then the sequencer or the sequencing machine will be able to just repeat the same loop and then jump to another loop and whatever. But he believes in having state-of-the-art but with a human face. We stretch time, we add dimensions into the music, and take things, and I believe, like, the technology helps me to be able to very quickly say, well, okay, what will happen if I turn this around? What will happen, like Brian was doing, kind of like saying, okay, take down the most important thing and put up the most unimportant sound and see what this sounds like. But then one other philosophy of Peter's is that you don't go into the studio. Sorry, I'm going to steal the line that you were going to say. And that is, once you go into the production, you have to separate that from the creativeness of the moment that you went in. Because for any artist, and I'm sure the room is full of artists today, and that is, it takes 1/1000th of a second to mock up and create a new picture of how you want this to happen. But then once you go into fulfilling that picture and making it into solid reality that you can hear or you can visually see, that's it. Keep that picture in mind, keep that vision and create it. Otherwise you will never be able to find out if that vision that you had was right or wrong.
How does that tie in, though, with all these bands that go into the studio and spend 6 months trying to come up with ideas if they don't have a very clear vision at the start? It's wonderful if you can follow a goal, if you've got a very clear idea, but how do you get inspired if you haven't got ideas? I suppose this is when we come on to getting producers involved. How do you inspire other people to get creative?
It's like going into the studio to try to find out how long is the piece of string, or is a piece of string. I don't believe in going into a studio and then let's suck it and see. That is one of the things, if I may say, which brings down